we had delayed Tuesday's show because of the debate. And so now we could debate the results of the debate, Mike.
Yeah, we could do that. We'll break a little bit of news tonight later as well on the Patreon side. And actually, we played it pretty smart because I'm just getting over my hangover from the debate. And I didn't even have it. I didn't even have anything to drink. I'm just mentally hungover from that. It was like, wow, that was something else to watch.
Well, I think people definitely want to hear your opinion, your evaluation. Charles gave us his views, and Charles generally has a very positive view of these things. And I'm not saying it's like Pollyanna positive. It's amazing, like whenever if I get off the phone with you, I'll be like, oh crap, everything is going to hell. And then I'll talk to Charles and he say, well, but this, that, and the other. I'm like, maybe it's okay. So I'm curious to hear your input. I mean, Joe Biden, the rumor mill has been blazing, Mike, that he had a wire falling out of his jacket, a wire falling out of his hand. He had some kind of virtual reality contact lenses or something. Are we looking at the first cybernetic presidential candidate in history?
Well, 2016, we broke a big story. One of the biggest stories we had. We were new at the time that Hillary was wearing an earpiece, and that was like a big deal. That became a national story. And then, of course, her campaign said no, she wasn't. But we had like the video of it. It's like, come on. And then she was making like signals with, I think it was Lester Holt and stuff. Yeah, it's like, come on, this is ridiculous. So Biden, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea what he's doing.
Washington Post picked up your story at the time, Mike, probably to call you a conspiracy theorist because they don't like to deal with evidence.
Did they pick it up?
Well, this is from 2016 saying Hillary earpiece speculation conjures the ghost of George W. Bush's back bulge. What was the back bulge? I don't even know.
I don't know. These guys, the back bulge, who knows? Yeah. I think the way it went is Alex Jones picked up the story and then Drudge picked up his story. Drudge always likes to link around us because he's a little scrawny fucking prick. But anyway, I shouldn't have said that, And, it's funny. What comes around goes around, bro. And he's getting his for being a jerk for so long. So anyway, I would think it's fair to say that the Drudge era is over. But that's another story for another show. But what was I going to say?
How come James Woods didn't link to you?
What do I know with these Hollywood types, right? James, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like back in the day, it's one thing after another. They'll link to somebody else, and who knows? I have to be honest with you, okay? I think these guys are all paid.
Of course.
I do. I think Woods is paid. I think Kirstie Alley's paid. I think they're all paid.
Really?
Because Woods vanished for 2.5 years at the most tumultuous times of Trump's presidency. And then after he wasn't, right before the election, he just showed back up. It's like, I was on vacation. And the president wasn't
they kicked him off Twitter.
No. He came back. It was his choice to come back. All he had to do was, you know how they say, you have to delete the tweet that is in violation. And he said, I'm not doing it. And then he kept. I literally think it's smart, I guess, if you're the Trump campaign to pay these people. I know it sounds maybe controversial, but I think it's probably a good move if they're doing it. I don't see these Hollywood guys sitting around and tweeting about politics unless there's something in it for them. I really don't.
But they all do it. Alyssa Milano is doing it. Whoever is paying her is not getting their money's worth.
No, those people are nuts. I'm talking about on the right. They're paying the few politicians the few Hollywood types that they can get to, try to drum up some support. I could be wrong. Maybe a guy like John Voight, he doesn't really need the money. Maybe Woods doesn't need the money, but it just seems suspect to me. It's like, come on, you're going to sit around all day and tweet? That's what you're doing with your life?
Doesn't James Woods make millions of dollars? First of all, when's the last time he made a movie? He had a TV show about being a lawyer or something, and I guess he just doesn't need money. He probably gets money from that show being in syndication and movies on.
Right. I'm saying I always think outside the box, right? I'm thinking, and Woods seems like a good guy, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you think outside the box and you live in a universe where you always analyze things, perhaps at times overanalyze things, but I don't think that's a bad deal. I think that if you did your homework and you look, it's pretty basic. Kirstie Alley is making a comeback, and she's like, she's panhandling to the MAGA crowd, right? And you look at her and who her agent is, and you look at Trump's agent, and like, wait a second, these guys are all in the
really.
Okay, when you break it down, it's like, wait a minute, why is she panhandling now to conservatives, right? And who's Trump's agent?
Wow. But would she do that? I mean, she's torpedoing her career. She's torpedoing
what
her
career?
Good point.
They use these things as a springboard for their comebacks and things like that. You know what I mean? And who knows what kind of opportunities pop up with ads and things like that. I don't know what's going on. But you look at it, who's Trump's agent? Ari Gold, is that the guy's name?
Is he? No, that's the guy from Entourage. It's Ari Emanuel, who they've modeled it after.
Sorry.
But just keeping with the theme for today's show, Mike, do you remember when Kirstie Alley burst onto the scene? She was the sexy Vulcan in Wrath of Khan.
Well, I mean, only you would know that. That's disturbing. That's really. I'm glad we waited until Thursday for that. Now it's two less days. I don't have to think about that. That will haunt me 2 less days in the week. But but think about it. She has the same agent as Trump, and a lot of these people have the same agents, right? What's going on here? You really think that she's?
Mike, did you freeze? Oh, there you go. Ari Emanuel. It does say is Trump's talent agent. Wow.
And that's her agent, and whoever else. So it's a revolving door. Remember The Apprentice? This is the presidential apprentice. There's a lot of this stuff going on. The guys from The Apprentice, the producers from The Apprentice, were the ones hired to do the Republican National Convention. So there's a revolving door with Hollywood behind the scenes and with the White House and what's going on. Okay.
So wait a minute. And don't forget, this says that they vetted Endeavor's Ari Emanuel, but so does that mean he's his agent? He's the Uber agent. He's a role model for Ari Gold on Entourage. As it turns out, he was also vetted for an unspecified role in the Trump administration during the transition in 2016. I guess he wouldn't do that if he wasn't. Disclosure came as Emanuel's vetting dossier was revealed.
It's a sidebar, but people have to always think outside the box. What you see is not necessarily what is really happening, right? There's all kind of things happening behind the scenes. So when you see a guy who comes out of the woodwork, like I like Woods, I like him a lot, and I think a lot of people do. However, the skeptical side of me that's done some political consultancy at high levels says, why wouldn't you bring him in? Why wouldn't you pay him, right, to tweet in an election year, especially in an election year? So I'm not saying that's happening, but you can't tell me like Kirstie Alley is all of a sudden and other people, right, represented by Trump's agent. There's no such thing as coincidences at this level, right? So you have to look at that. They're trying to jumpstart their career. They're trying to breathe life back into their career. What better way to do it than with folks who don't have a lot of Hollywood types subscribing to their political ideology? It's really ingenious in many ways, right? You're going to get an immediate boost, whatever you're doing. People are going, oh yeah, she's with us now. She's with us. Okay, cool. And then what happens? Like, you get left in the wind. Oh, she wasn't with us. Damn it. We thought she was with us. And then it was all a scheme, So when you've been played enough and you understand how these folks move chess pieces around on an imaginary board because they're literally bored themselves, and because they can do it, so you start thinking outside the box. So people I've encouraged people to think outside the box. And maybe these people aren't on your side politically. Maybe they're just in it for themselves, like everybody else in Hollywood and everybody else in DC. And they're not there to be your best friend. They're there to make money and to profit. So it's worth looking at. And I float that. And if there's some repercussions, I don't necessarily care because who cares? The facts speak for themselves. Look at these people's history, look at their agents, and do the math. If there's links to Trump, there's links to the White House, there's links to The Apprentice.
But they could be legit. I mean, I know Kevin Sorbo from working with him on a movie, and he would speak about how he's very into religion and conservative values and stuff, and it kind of caused some problems for him in Hollywood.
And what if they are getting paid? It's not the end of the world, but I'm saying they're entitled to get paid if that's what they want to do. They're professionals. So, but what I'm telling people is think about these things. Not everything is what it seems, and when you think everything is as it seems, that's when you get manipulated big time. And we're seeing a massive manipulation now with COVID-19, and that's the kind of thinking I'm talking about. Step back and say, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. These people are coming out of the woodwork now. Where were they when the chips were down? That's what I'm saying, right? Like to me, you want my opinion? A patriot doesn't take a fucking vacation. If you're a patriot and you care about the country, there's no vacation. We're at a precipice in our country's history. We're at a crossroads. You don't take a vacation. There's no vacation. We're all going to be on vacation permanently when this thing blows up, right? What the hell is that? It's stupid, right? We need all hands on deck. I come to work every day. You come to work every day. The people that are watching us come to work.
I just stay here.
Yeah, but the people out there, you got it. Like it's crunch time. It's been crunch time for 3-4 years now, right? The guy Trump never had, love him or hate him, and I don't, and I've been critical of him at times. He didn't give the guy a week. They didn't even give him a week. He didn't even have a honeymoon. As soon as he got in, they started pounding him. Right? It's been 4 years of this. And then the people that support him are getting pounded too, because it's like, man, has anybody taken a beating like this? Okay. So, and a lot of times we won't know exactly what the hell happened for years to come. So we might have all been played. Who knows? We might have all been played. So, but what I'm saying is, especially with the Hollywood types who live in you should know this. You do know this. I said, not that you should, you do know this. It's all smoke and mirrors, man. Right?
Yes.
They get a script. They pretend that there's somebody else. They become famous. They think that we care about their opinions because they're good at pretending to be somebody that they're not. And how is it different from politics? It's the same damn thing. The people in politics just aren't as good looking.
Right. So this article from Variety, Mike, which is, basically like the New York Times of Hollywood and entertainment reporting, it's saying that William Morris Agency was forming a political action committee and planning on increasing its contact. This was for Trump. Ari Emanuel said in an email on Tuesday, the actions are in response. No, wait a minute. This is a political action committee against Trump. For the Donald Trump era. I don't know if Emanuel represented Trump. We're getting off on a sidetrack here, but people can look into this, and we'll look into it as well. It's a fair possibility.
It's very interesting, and you can't tell me that there's not some kind of strange paid synergy going on. I don't believe it. I don't think people do things for free anymore at that level. These guys are professionals. In DC, they're professional liars, and in California, they're professional actors, and they all want the money, baby. They're not
actually. The Variety headline says former Donald Trump agent Ari Emanuel setting up PAC. Okay. Something's going on there.
Well, I'm sure he's not really working against Trump the same way that the Lincoln Project apparently wasn't working against Trump. They made it look like they were working against Trump. Kellyanne Conway's husband, George, but were they really working against Trump, or were they helping him? So you look at all this stuff, and what you think you see is not necessarily what is really happening. Okay, right. In other words, it's politics. These guys are professionals. These guys are pros, and it's hard out here. It's hard to decipher what the hell is going on. They're getting there's so much stuff and misinformation and disinformation thrown at us on a regular basis. So I've just told people, don't be so fast to leap into the pool. Test the water out a little bit. Dip your toe and see what's going on before you dive in like everybody else and are made to look like a jerk. Because that's when you get fooled and get played, they make you look like a jerk, and then you feel some sort of like inadequacy that you got played, and it's like a vicious cycle. But these guys are pros at it. They're the best. They're the best. So it takes a while to come up to speed against these guys. But we're going to talk about
yeah. Sorry. No. What were you going to say? Tonight we're going to be talking about.
Tonight we'll talk about more about Durham. I got more information on Durham and the Clinton Foundation, and then we're going to talk about Biden. And we're just going to shoot the shit for an hour and a half, whatever it comes out to be, like we usually go. And I think it's probably better that we waited till after the debate.
Yeah, because there's more to talk about now. I mean, you were just a second ago, Mike, talking about what you see is not necessarily what you get, and there's misinformation and disinformation. But the thing is, we're in an era now where, we see deep fakes. Everybody sees the images that I make. I mean, they're still images and they're made to be jokes. They're obviously fakes, but the same kind of technology and even more advanced iterations of it are allowing all kinds of things that people used to rely on to be, evidence that can now be manipulated. The Washington Post is reporting that misinformation about Biden's health spreads after the debate. When I searched Google for Biden's eyes and debate, it was showing a lot of articles from, when he had that bleed at the Democrat debate, but not really talking about why were his eyes so black. Joe Biden's eyes are usually really blue.
Well, the funny thing is these guys just can never play it straight. The Democrats, I mean, you go back to 2016, you go back to other elections, not necessarily presidential elections. There's always some trickery going on.
Right.
There's always some, who was it? Willie Horton. I mean, there's always these little things that these guys are up to through the years. And the thing with Biden, right? Did he look healthy even with the black guy? He didn't look healthy to me. He doesn't look healthy.
No.
He doesn't look healthy at all. And he obviously, I think if the president debates him again, we'll see if there is more debates. There are more debates. I don't know what's going to happen. It seems like they're talking about cutting off people's microphones and stuff. That's not a debate. It's like, what is this? Is this we back in high school? Like the high school debate team, where the one guy dominates?
But Mike, if you were a guest on a podcast and they killed your microphone, wouldn't you just hang up the call? Who would do that? The guy's the president of the United States. He's not going to agree to be involved in that kind of nonsense.
No, it's a sham. And you know what? These presidential commission on debates is a sham too. To bring a fool, to bring a rich, spoiled, corrupt fool like Chris Wallace into the fold and pretend that he's some kind of an impartial moderator is absolutely insanity. It's an insult to every American, as far as I'm concerned. Every American with a brain. The cement heads love it because they don't know the difference between manipulation and not being manipulated. But this guy is this guy supposed to? We'll talk about it more tonight. Is he supposed to be America's voice? That he sees America, or he's presenting America through his prism of being a rich, spoiled kid who didn't have to really work very hard to where he got. And that's the prism where he's asking questions about America through. We don't need more rich people. We have two rich people up on the podium. We don't need a third rich person peppering them with questions about to protect the rich and the elites. We need somebody down to earth. Somebody who actually came up the hard way. But you know what? Right. Those people don't rise in the media. They never rise. Only the phonies and literally they're bought and paid for. Chris Wallace is a joke. I mean, You look at his background. He never had to work hard at all. It was all handed to him. And it wasn't because of Mike Wallace. It wasn't because of Mike Wallace.
What was it because of?
Well, Mike Wallace and his wife Norma split up very early when Chris was born. And Norma, his mom, married Bill Leonard, who was the president of CBS News. Okay? Meanwhile, Mike Wallace is building his career at CBS News. Chris Wallace is the stepson of Bill Leonard, who's the president of CBS News. Wallace's first job out of Harvard, okay, is his first job in journalism. My first job in journalism was like the equivalent of shoveling elephant shit for 7 years. Okay, I'm serious. Working your way up.
That's the way everybody works.
His first job was to work the DNC convention in 1964 with Walter Cronkite. That was his first job.
Oh.
Are you
that's pretty
kidding me?
deep statey of him.
Okay, so think about this guy. He's right out of Harvard and he's working with Cronkite. That's like a slap in the face to every working journalist at the time, you know. And that's been his career. That's been his career. And then he got reunited with 14 years old. They were kind of estranged. And then his career even advanced because Mike Wallace was a big deal back then.
Pie Susan is saying that Chris Wallace was an intern for Biden. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. But people were sending me today pictures of Wallace on a yacht with George Clooney and on some island. And I'm like, yeah, recently. I think Wallace and his wife were hanging out with Clooney and his wife, maybe over in that island that place they have over in Italy.
Wow, we've got them right here. Look at this. Wow. I don't know. You got to watch out what islands you go to, it seems, Mike.
Yeah, what island is that? Let's find out more about it. But I mean, come on. This guy is not impartial whatsoever. And his background, again, do we really need how many? It's all rigged, bro. It's all rigged. It's sad to say. You can't. We're out here, okay. I always talk about the haves versus the have-nots. The have-nots don't have a voice. You sit there and watch three grown men. I don't know what happened to Trump at the time when he was asked a question about climate change. I'm like, what? Yeah, there's been a major problem with climate change in the United States. People lost their jobs and are not allowed to leave the house. I don't know what bigger climate. I don't know what bigger climate change we can talk about forestation and things. Are we really worried about that? Yeah, we should be because people are going to be living in the woods after all this is over.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's insane, and they're talking about this, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is a disgrace. They're talking about climate change. And Trump should have shut that down and said, we have serious problems. And now he did a couple times talk that way. But the problem is it's so rigged because you have this rich asshole who obviously is almost like Biden's spokesperson, cutting off the president repeatedly, trying to save Biden whenever Biden found himself in quicksand.
Well, there was a couple times he told the president to stop interrupting when he had already stopped talking. So that's always a weird thing. Charlie is telling us that actually the next debate will be moderated by a person who was an intern of Biden. And Mike, when you say that we're looking at the world through Joe Biden's prism, it might be that we were looking through it some augmented reality contact lenses. I mean, I have seen patents for this type of technology for many years, being in the 3D field and the virtual reality field, but they're talking about this type of device that is essentially a contact lens with a screen in it. That I think the idea is that you, like through Bluetooth or something similar, you can connect it to your phone and it overlays data like GPS and text messages and whatever over the real world. So, I mean, again, I don't know if these are readily available. Certainly DARPA or somebody, if anybody's going to have them, it's going to be Joe Biden or somebody up at that level. But that's pretty weird if they did that. And certainly if there was any suspicion that Donald Trump was using some sort of electronic device to gain an advantage, that would be all over the news. And we've heard nothing about this. Why were Joe Biden's eyes so dark?
It's a good question. I mean, Biden thinks that Bluetooth is something you get after eating cotton candy. He's like,
he's not exactly a tech mogul.
No, he's not. So, but here's the thing. Let's just break it all down and simplify it. Let's say he was cheating and he had this cyber eye or whatever he had going. He had wearing some kind of wire or something. That's how well he did when he was cheating. He must really be a man, because if you're cheating and you have that kind of technological leg up, and that's your performance,
pretty bad.
You're in serious trouble. I mean, if that's him juiced up, whatever they got running through his veins, obviously he was juiced up on something, right? Because the guy wasn't like you see him every other day of his life, number one. Number two, if he is cheating, that's the best he got. And as far as technology, they want to take the only thing Trump had was a microphone. Now they want to take that away from him.
Right, exactly.
They don't even want him to have a microphone. Forget about a hidden microphone, a hidden earpiece, or some wire or a cyber eye. Trump's not even allowed to a microphone. I was going to have to pull a megaphone out of his coat.
Just start shouting. I don't think Trump will care if they turn off his microphone. It's not going to stop him from talking, and I think his voice would carry. You'd still hear him. But Mike, we're just about out of time here on YouTube. We're going to be continuing the conversation on the sponsor-exclusive segment here on subscribestar.com/TruePundit, patreon.com/TruePundit, and Subscribestar and Patreon/Crowdsource the Truth. Now, so we're not on Tuesday, so this week's Thomas Paine podcast is already out. People can hear that. But sponsors of Mike and the crew at True Pundit on Subscribestar or Patreon are going to get access to commercial-free video version of Paine in the Morning, which is Mike's new daily podcast, video cast, whatever we call these types of casts these days. But it's a great way for people to stay up on the breaking news that they can follow on TruePundit.com. And Mike will be back in just 5 minutes to carry on the conversation, get into some of the big stories here.
Good stuff, man. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And thanks to everybody, all the generous Patreon and Subscribestar sponsors who make the show possible. It's the first of the month, so it's a great time for people to subscribe if you haven't already. I've got a new series that just started this week that's up there, and they've just started offering annual subscriptions. I don't know if you've implemented that yet, Mike, but it's a great way for people to get a discount and also help keep independent journalism going. I can't bring you great guests like Mike Moore from True Pundit without your support and sponsorship. So we'll see everybody over on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thanks for watching.